not just sorry or regret or wish he hadn't used those words.
Tonight, the Archbishop of St. Boniface in Winnipeg is completely disavowing comments made by a Catholic priest.
I am Thunderbird now, and so that makes me really excited because I get to grow with this character and keep interacting with the fans.
One of the world's most popular video games now has an Indigenous character. And the story behind the special outfit worn by Canada's new Governor General at her swearing-in ceremony. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. The Archbishop and the Archdiocese of St. Boniface in Winnipeg say they completely disavow comments made by a priest at a service earlier this month. As first reported by CBC Manitoba, Father Rial Forez spoke about First Nations people who loved residential schools and accused survivors of making up lies to get extra money during the settlement process with the federal government. In the video that had been posted to the church's Facebook page, Forez also says, quote, "Some who were sexually abused, it was not by a priest or a nun, it was by a layman, a night watchman," unquote. The video has since been removed and the priest has had his permission to preach or teach publicly revoked. The Archbishop today released a video statement on the matter.
I'm not just sorry or regret or wish he hadn't used those words. I wish to say very, very clearly, and I hope more and more people will come to that place of completely disavowing that kind of thinking. I'm going to say it, that kind of racism.
To Ottawa now, where today Prime Minister Trudeau named 5 people to the Senate, 3 of them from Quebec, one of them is Michèle Audette. Audette is probably best known as one of the commissioners of the Missing and Murdered Women and Girls Inquiry. She's also a past president of the Native Women's Association of Quebec and the Native Women's Association of Canada. Audette has received numerous awards, from being named Woman of the Year by Montreal's Council of Women in 2014 to a Diamond Jubilee Medal in 2012. Audette comes from a small Inuit community near Sept-Îles, Quebec. Alberta is lifting most of its remaining COVID-19 measures as cases continue to rise in the province. Health Minister Tyler Shandro says the decision is part of the transition to an endemic response.
We're trying to do it in a thoughtful way, in a staged approach based on really important metrics and milestones that were developed that are based on the science and based on the data.
Contact tracers will no longer notify close contacts of positive cases and won't have to self-isolate. On August 16th, quarantine will no longer be mandatory for those who test positive. Albertans showing symptoms won't have to be tested, and masks won't be required on public transit, ride sharing, or taxis. Calgary emergency room physician Dr. Joe Vipon says he's confused why the Alberta government would remove even more COVID-19 protections.
Our governments want to make us sick. So what do we do in a liberal democracy? Like, seriously, what's the answer when my children, any child under 12 is at threat? I'm at threat because, you know, as a double vaxxed person, we don't know about waning immunity. We don't know so much about this disease. What do you do when your enemy is your government? Like, and yet the election cycle says you have to wait 2 more years of allowing them to hurt you.
When the federal government stumbled upon oil near Norman Wells, it piqued the Crown's interest in making a treaty with the Indigenous peoples in the Northwest Territories. It's a complex history and a nation-to-nation relationship marred by broken promises. But today, 100 years later, Sahtu Dene are celebrating the intentions of their ancestors. Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs was in Toledo to learn how their commitments were and remain rooted in the land.
To understand the foundations of Treaty 11, you must understand the Dene legends.
It's very historical and sacred. It's where the story of Yamaria and the three giant beavers starts.
And what better place to start than here, Great Bear Rock in Toledo, Northwest Territories.
Long ago there was giant animals, and some of them were giant beavers, and they would bother the Dene people of the area, and sometimes capsizing their canoes and stuff, stealing their caches, and just making it more difficult on the Dene people living here in the area. And so the creator sent down two giants, Yamaria and Yamoga.
James McPherson shares his culture through tourism and explains how the land is shaped by legends.
So Yamaria made his way over here to Bear Rock to watch the river. As you can see, the Bear River down right here. He was watching the river to watch out for the beaver, and as he seen the beaver, he shot some arrows just in front of Toledo, the mouth of the Bear River. And to this day, could be 20,000 years ago, those arrows are still sticking in the ground.
Hundreds of people from across the Sawtoo are gathering to celebrate the 100th year anniversary of the signing of Treaty 11.
There was no villages before. Everyone was all scattered out on the land, and when everyone come to the gatherings, it was a big, big thing, and everyone was so welcoming to see each other. And the Mooskin boats arrived. The gunshots happen when the Mooskin boats come in, and the people of Delaunay arriving to sign the treaty with the people of Toledo.
National Chief of the Dene Nation, Norman Yakalaya, remembers his grandmother telling him the story of when his grandfather, Chief Albert Wright, signed treaty.
She said he came home and they said the government wants to make treaty, want to make a payment. And my grandmother said that, what's a treaty? And he said, well, when the white men come down the river, we're not to war on them. We're supposed to make them feel welcome and come down the river as a friendship.
Albert Wright wasn't a chief by birth. Rather, the church and state made him one.
And we know that in 1914, they already started working at the Norman Wells oil field. And they soon discover with the assessment that there's a lot of oil here, and that could help the national debt in Canada.
When the treaty party left Ottawa to travel up the Mackenzie River for negotiations, they had already drafted the treaty document.
100 years ago, the people did not know the value of our economic resources on our land. We only wanted to survive in peace, and the federal government, so they made an agreement with not good intentions. It was only for their own selfish needs. By our people, we made the agreement for as long as this land should last.
Yakalaya says the Dene intended to fish, to hunt, and to trap. And even as the colonial government imposed restrictions which dispossessed people from the land, the Dene remained strong in the history of the deal they made in peace and friendship.
You got the mountain here with the 3 beaver skins. You got the 2 arrows in the Bear River. You got the smokes down here in the river. That's sacred. We're going to protect that. And that's what the elders are talking about. We made that treaty based on those sacred legends.
Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Toledo.
Coming up after the break, we'll sit down with the new National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations. Stick around. Welcome back. The new AFN National Chief attended her first public event in Ottawa since winning the job earlier this month. Roseanne Archibald was one of a few selected people allowed inside the Senate to witness Mary Simon's historic installation as Governor General. We spoke with the new National Chief earlier. National Chief, thanks for being with us. This was your first center stage political appearance in Ottawa after securing a historic victory yourself. What went through your mind as you watched the ceremony?
Well, I certainly felt the significance of it, being present and watching the first Indigenous woman being installed as the Governor General was really an amazing moment for me to witness. I was happy to be there.
Are you concerned at all, as the first Indigenous head of a colonial state, that expectations on Mary Simon may be too high?
I have been asked this a couple of times, and you probably watched her speech. She's quite a force, and I really appreciated that she had a great sense of humor. But one of the things she said was her Inuit name, which translated, I believe, into small, bossy woman, something like that. And I just, for me, when she said that, it signaled to me that she's going to inhabit this role in a different way. And as an Indigenous First Nation woman myself, I know that Indigenous women are relentless, strong, resilient, and I believe that she will inhabit this role in a way that nobody has before her.
First Nations have treaties with the Crown that predate Canada. How do you see the treaty relationship working out now that an Inuk is the Queen's representative?
The treaty relationship doesn't change. It doesn't change with the Governor General and who's sitting in that particular seat. We certainly want to have a good relationship with the Governor General and want to raise First Nation priorities. We want to talk about the path ahead for healing and particularly true reconciliation, which is what we're working toward, all of us. And I think that the recent recoveries of our little children at the former institutions, which I call the former institutions of assimilation and genocide, has really brought us to a space in history where reconciliation, I think, takes on a more significant meaning for our allies and for non-Indigenous people across Canada. And Mary Simon, Her Excellency, mentioned this in her speech. She talked about the TRC, the calls to action, and the need for healing.
You were recently touring the country, visiting First Nations leaders now that you can. How confident are you in your lobbying mandate, given concerns about the low voter turnout this time at the AFN among chiefs?
Do you mean, does that impact me? Is that your question?
Just, how confident are you feeling about your mandate, given that there was a low voter turnout at the election?
My mandate is still strong. I'm an elected person. And I said this in another interview that in Ontario, Dennis, when we finish the round where the person does get 50% plus one, in Ontario, all the chiefs will line up behind the person who won. And so I just imagined that the chiefs were all standing behind me in that after the final ballot, because that's our way. Our way is not the non-Indigenous colonial way. Certainly there's work to do in terms of creating better unity and strength with each other, working together, but I don't see it affecting my mandate at all.
You mounted a campaign based on transparency and accountability. What internal changes to the AFN do you propose, and will you move ahead with the external probe of the AFN finances that the Chiefs of Ontario had called for?
Yeah, I want to talk to Regional Chief Glenn Hare about that confidential resolution that was passed by the Chiefs of Ontario and get some direction on that. But I am absolutely committed to evolving the organization and making it better. And so in terms of the, some of the work that we've already started, for example, a part of my platform was to separate the political arm of the organization from the administrative technical part of the organization. And so that work has begun. In fact, later this week, I'm getting my weeks mixed up already. I am meeting with regional chiefs from across all our regions, and we'll be discussing in our first political meeting. So this meeting that I'm having with them is solely called by my office as a national chief to meet with them and to discuss the political path forward. There will be, of course, ongoing meetings with the Secretariat. Those would be board meetings. Those would be administrative types of meetings. And so I've already started on that mandate of creating a more strong political arm of the organization, while at the same time continuing to create a healthy space within the Secretariat, and certainly wanting to support the good work that they have been doing over the years. There's a lot of good work that has been happening at the AFN. I've said this several times. And so what we need to do is build on that and really address those deficiencies that chiefs have been talking about for many years now.
National Chief, we'll have to leave it there. Congrats. This is the first time I've spoken to you since the election, but appreciate you taking some time with us here. Yeah,
thank you, Dennis. Talk to you again. Take care.
Two Inuit artists from Nunavik are getting some serious attention from the fashion lovers after they collaborated on the outfit Mary Simon wore for her installation ceremony as Governor General. Victoria Oakpick designed the dress and jacket using a modern take on a traditional Inuit hemline, while Julie Grenier, who is the chair of APTN's board of directors, contributed to the beadwork. The making of the outfit took 1 month and was recently featured in Fashion magazine. Grenier says the challenge was to celebrate Simon's Inuit heritage without excluding other Indigenous peoples.
Le manteau que portait Mary Simon, qui a été fait et designé par Victoria Oakpick, avait le style akuk dans le bas, qui est vraiment significatif des Inuits du Nunavik du Nord. Mais le perlage, par contre, c'était vraiment conçu pour faire une représentation de tous les Autochtones à travers le pays et même à travers le monde. Le perlage est quelque chose qui nous rejoint tous.
Time for another quick break, but still to come, one of the most popular video games in the world adds an Indigenous character. Stick around. Welcome back. Let's take a look at our photo of the day. Janice Gladish was able to get this photo of who she described as a regular visitor to their home on Quadra Island in British Columbia. Nice looking photo. You can send your photos to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 23 in St. John's, showers, and 19 for Halifax. Rain and 14 in Kuujjuaq, rain in Nain with a high of 12. 19 with showers in Montreal, rain, and 11 for Chibougamau. Sunny and 20 for Sault Ste. Marie and North Bay, where there will be cloud. 27 and rain in Thunder Bay, 21 with showers in Sioux Lookout. Rain and 25 for God's Lake and Norway House. 30 with showers in Winnipeg and Brandon, 29 in Dauphin. Sunny and 30 for Regina and North Battleford. 23 in Uranium City, sunny, and 28 for Meadow Lake. Over to northern Alberta, 27 and sunny for High Level, 30 under the sun in Grand Prairie. 29 in Edmonton, 32 for Lethbridge and Medicine Hat. Sunny and 28 for Vancouver, 37 with smoke in Kamloops. 30 in Prince George, 27 in Dease Lake. 22 for Old Crow, sunny and 25 for Whitehorse. 23 in Yellowknife, 30 for Fort Liard and Trout Lake. 5 and rain in Sax Harbor, 19 with showers for Paulatuck. rain, and 13 for Arviette, 7 with showers for Chesterfield, 7 with rain in Resolute and Arctic Bay. A video game company has added an Indigenous character to one of its most popular franchises, and they base that character off an Indigenous actor's cultural background. With more, here's Daryl Stranger.
Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege is one of the most popular video games with millions of players worldwide. It's designed by the Canadian-based company Ubisoft. The online tactical shooter game has recently added a new character called Thunderbird, and she's from the Nakota Territories of Saskatchewan.
Thunderbird. Preparation, speed, precision. These are essential when it comes to saving lives.
They said that whichever actress that they chose would be what they would base the specific cultural heritage of the character on. So that really stood out to me, and I thought it was just a really innovative way to go about casting, especially in this new era of wanting to have accurate representation. And I was really excited by that, so I really put my all into the audition.
Sarah Lise MacArthur landed the coveted role. She is from the Pheasant Rump Nakota Nation in Saskatchewan. Developers asked about her culture and then spoke with Indigenous consultants to help build the character.
I sent them a really long email, and then they said thank you for all the details, and I didn't hear from them for about a couple of months. And when they came back, Ubisoft had gone and sourced their own cultural advisors from Saskatchewan, some of which are related to me, and they worked with them to create the character. So
the creative team at Ubisoft said they wanted to take the time and make sure it was done right.
Very early on, what we knew we had to do to be able to do this properly is to kind of admit how much we didn't know about any of these subjects, to kind of be okay with that. We couldn't just approach people and say, this is the character, this is exactly what they are. What we had to do was allow the actor or whoever we would cast in this role to dictate the heritage and to inform the character.
Included in the character's bio is that she enrolled in the Bold Eagle program, a real-life military training program mixed with cultural experience for Indigenous youth.
What it means to Siege, and hopefully Ubisoft in general, is that we can use our game as, I think, a potential vehicle for this type of exposure, not only for Thunderbird, but for characters coming in the future.
Both Ubisoft and MacArthur say this is not the last of the character, but rather the beginning.
I am Thunderbird now, and so that makes me really excited because I get to grow with this character and keep interacting with the fans.
Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Looks pretty cool. Might be time for me to trade in my Super Nintendo. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Thursday. For news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.